The keto flu is one of those things that can either hit you really hard or you may not feel it at all. Either way, today I'm going to help you how to prevent it and what to do just in case that you do happen to get it. But before we get into the video, I do have one request for you. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for future keto and weight loss content. So one quick thing to keep in mind about the keto flu is it's called the keto flu because you experience very similar symptoms to the flu. Now that doesn't mean that you have the flu, but you're going to experience very similar symptoms. So some of the most popular ones of the keto flu are, digestive problems, irritability, weakness, lethargy, fogginess, chills, pain in your muscles, pain in your joints, and probably one of the more popular ones is the sugar cravings, the sugar withdrawals. Now, all of these things are perfectly normal because your body is going through a change. You're switching from a carb-based energy source to a fat energy source. So this temporary, these temporary symptoms that you're going to experience, they are good. So the fact that you are experiencing these things, it's a good thing because that means that it is working. However, they can be a little bit tedious because, you could experience these for anywhere between 3 to 10 days. So, like I said, some people are not going to experience them at all, but if you're going to experience them, do expect them to last 3 to 10 days. And you don't want to be one of those people that, you stop doing keto or you have great potential for keto, but you decided to prematurely end it because you were experiencing these symptoms and you didn't know what to do about it, okay? So the very first tip that I have for you is going to be make sure that you get into ketosis slowly. Try not to go cold turkey from, one day to the next, because again, you're going to give your body a big shock in that case. You're going to go from carb-based one day to the next day, to fat-based the next day. Now, the first 2 days you're not going to be experiencing any of the symptoms because your body still has all the sugar reserve, and then it takes a couple of days for your body to start metabolizing fats. But if you're able to slowly introduce that change to your body, you're probably going to have a much easier transition. So for example, let's say that you are used to eating carbs, then what you want to do is you want to have a 5-day transition period where what you're doing is you're reducing your carbs every single day by 25 to 30 grams. So if you're used to eating 200, 250 grams of carb, or even if you don't count your carbs, try to deliberately limit your carbs every single day for 5 days and make sure that you're doing it more every single day. And as you're doing so, you're introducing a little bit more fat. So that 5-day transition period, you shouldn't focus on, am I doing keto right? Just focus on the transition, okay? So it's gonna be a big journey right now. You're just warming up, you're stretching out your muscles, to better fit the analogy, you're stretching out your muscles to get ready for this race. So, as you're reducing your carbs, up your fats a little bit, let's say that you take away, half a cup of rice, from one of your meals and add half avocado so that your body can slowly start getting used to it. Not only that, but your brain is probably going to thank you for it as well because our brains do run on glucose primarily. Now, there are some studies that show that the brain can run more efficiently on ketones, but that's a topic for another time. But if you're slowly doing that transition, then you're not going to experience the fogginess or the headaches as much because you're kind of, you're getting your brain prepared for that, okay? Tip number 2 to prevent it is, this one's pretty much oversimplified, but it's very important. You have to make sure that you're doing keto right. If you're not eating enough fats, if you're just doing a low carb diet, then chances are you're going to experience the irritability more than any of the other symptoms in the long haul, because what's happening is your body doesn't have a primary energy source. Remember, the point of keto is to switch to a carb energy source to a fat energy source so that you can potentially, burn fat at a faster rate. So if you're not eating enough fats and you're just doing a low carb diet, your body isn't relying on a primary source of energy. And you're probably going to experience not so much the keto flu symptoms, but you're going to experience the achy joints, the muscle cramps. You're going to experience the irritability, some digestive problems because your body doesn't have that primary energy source. So it's very important that you, take a second look, at your plan and make sure that you're properly doing keto. Now, if you already got into ketosis and you weren't able to slowly transition into it, that's totally okay. The following tips are going to be more appropriate for that. But as I go through these tips as well, they're still going to be important whether you transition onto it slowly or whether you did it cold turkey. So Tip number 3 is plenty of water. When you're first transitioning into keto, your body is going to be losing a lot of water weight. Carbs hold water, and that's where you see or you hear a lot of people who lose 5 pounds in the first 2 or 3 days that they're trying to do keto, but it's not so much that keto is working right away, it's that they're getting rid of a lot of water weight. And with that with that carb weight that you're losing, you're going to be very dehydrated. So it's very vital that you drink plenty of water all throughout keto, especially those first 2 weeks. But I don't want you to just think, oh, it's just 2 weeks that I have to drink water. You have to be constantly staying hydrated, because a lot of those symptoms that you may experience, more than likely they're going to come from dehydration. So it's very important that you are staying hydrated and you are drinking at least 1 gallon of water a day. Alright, so tip number 4 is to make sure that you replenish your electrolytes. Along with that water weight that you're going to lose, you're going to be getting rid of a lot of electrolytes. It's going to be a very big amount that you're going to be losing in a very short amount of time. So your body is going to experience it, very vividly. And this is where a lot of like the bodily, symptoms come from. Like the achy muscles, the achy joints, the headaches. It's because you have a lack of electrolytes. So the first thing to do is to make sure that you get yourself an electrolyte complex. And there's many ways that we can go about this. You can get like a Pedialyte, like a sugar-free Pedialyte, or you can get yourself a sugar-free electrolyte complex. One of my favorite ways to go about this is to get potassium, magnesium, and calcium pills, and then take those every single day. Sodium is something that you can get through your foods, which you can get that through salt. So the first thing that you want to do is make sure that you eat at least 1 teaspoon of Himalayan salt throughout the day. That's going to contain about 2,000 milligrams of sodium, which is just about how much the average person needs. And this is just to replenish anything that you're losing. Now, with the magnesium, potassium, and calcium, you want to get those through your food, but it's still good to have the supplements as a backup. And other ways that you can compensate for your electrolytes is obviously through food. So as I said, you can get the Himalayan salt and use 1 teaspoon throughout the day to make sure that you get to the 2,000 milligrams. You can also get things like pickles. Those things are very high in sodium. You can also get broth. Broth is a high of sodium in it, so you can eat you can have some broth, like a veggie soup. Other things that you could do obviously would be your vegetables. Your vegetables are pretty much going to help you compensate for the potassium and for the magnesium. The sodium not so much. So in this case, getting your leafy greens is going to be very essential. Avocados are also a great source of potassium. So not only are they great for potassium, but they're also going to be a great fat source to enhance your fat intake for keto. Dark chocolate is another great source of potassium. So having a little bit of dark chocolate every single day is going to help out. But just to kind of recap, you want to make sure that you get your potassium, magnesium, and calcium pills. And for the sodium, you can just get that through your salt. And then next to the supplements, you also want to get your electrolytes through food. You want to get those through your leafy greens. You can get some pickles. You can get some broth, a little bit of dark chocolate, and those things are going to help you, get the electrolytes and the minerals that you're going to lose that are going to cause the side effects of the keto flu. So tip number 5, and this one's going to be more towards the very beginning when you're going to be experiencing a lot of those sugar cravings or the sugar withdrawals or the carb withdrawals, is to have a couple of sugar-free treats in your pantry. Now, I normally don't recommend this, to do it very often, because one of the big mistakes that you can make on keto is that you get caught up in doing a lot of sugar-free this, sugar-free that you forget about what you're trying to do, which is get your fats up. However, for the beginning of your stages when you're starting keto, you want to have a couple of those, because the moment you start experiencing those sugar cravings, those carb withdrawals, instead of trying to tough it out, what I would recommend is go get a keto Atkins bar, or get a sugar-free jelly treat with peanut butter. That way you're tricking your body into thinking that you're getting those, and then that way you can mitigate those strong cravings that you're having or those withdrawals. Now, like I said, this is not a very optimal thing to do, because you don't want to get caught up in, okay, well, I can do sugar-free this, sugar-free that, but it's going to help you curb those cravings and not fall into actually having a cheat meal or breaking keto because you couldn't say no to it. So make sure that you have a couple of sugar-free treats, and this could be Atkins bars. There's plenty of keto cookies out there, keto bars, keto brownies, etc. So make sure to have a couple of those, especially at the very beginning, for when you get those sugar cravings. Now, the last thing that I just want to remind you is, if you do happen to experience these symptoms, remember that it's normal. It's part of your body switching energy sources. If it's going on for more than 14 days, then it's reevaluate everything that you're doing, go over every single one of the steps, because probably if it's going longer than 14 days, you're probably missing one of these things right here that I just talked about in the video. But again, you might experience it, you might not. Some people get lucky. For example, myself, it hits me very hard. I experience achy joints, achy muscles, but then I know that's the electrolyte deficiency. A lot of people have the headaches, digestive problems, but these are things that they are going to go away. But just remember that it's temporary, and the fact that you're experiencing it, it's a good thing because your body is getting into ketosis. So hopefully you found the content helpful. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, and once again, subscribe to the channel for future keto and weight loss content.